Digital is a very, very fundamental, multi-dimensional mega trend. Yeah, those are very big words. Yeah. So digital is not just about a technology change, and it's a very all-pervasive change, which is at multiple levels. It is in terms of industries kind of shifting, customer expectations shifting. There is, the interplay of emerging technologies, which is kind of, then having, a lot of implications in terms of organization, in terms of culture. So it's really a very, very, very big change. Yeah. And I've had the real opportunity in my career uh, of kind of being a part of it and seeing it grow. Yeah. So I joined McKinsey in 1996, and like in 98, 99, many of you would not be old enough to know that in those times, but the whole dot-com boom happened. Yeah. And I had the opportunity early on, 97, 98, 99, to be part of some of the very early dot-com internet work that as McKinsey we did in India, which included setting up of ICICI Direct. Some of you may know it. ICICI Direct was India's first broking platform, e-broking platform, which I which I was part of conceptualizing and designing. So I've been, was part of it from very early on. And given I did a few of these things, I felt that I knew this dot-com thing very well. So I left McKinsey and did a dot-com startup. It was called activekarma.com, which was about using the internet to facilitate active, healthy lifestyle. And it was an amazing ride of a couple of years, but it bombed badly. The dot-com boom soon became dot-com bust. But it was like just an incredible learning opportunity. And then I came back to McKinsey, and then I took on a very unusual role in McKinsey, which was leading McKinsey's knowledge center. And it was like, it was like a forgotten, like a back office. But what it meant really was that it gave me the opportunity of driving a lot of innovation, of doing a lot of experimentation, and it soon became one of not one of the most productive, creative innovation hub for McKinsey. And there I had the opportunity to set up analytics as a service line and many, many new service lines. So that was, and the whole, one of the key foundations of this whole digital age is data and analytics, and a real opportunity of building that out firsthand. And then after that I joined Fidelity, where in addition to heading India and our offshore centers, I was also heading strategy and transformation for Fidelity international business. So, and Fidelity was going through this big shift from being like a product centric company to a more kind of distribution centric company, which was really meant that from a pure investment management firm to a more technology firm. And I was very much a part of driving that change. And that's where it really, really struck me that, wow, what a big change this whole, we are going through this whole digital thing. And it also struck me that, how unprepared the large enterprises are, even the greatest enterprise in the world, how unprepared they are. Yeah. And that was the motivation for me to join Flipkart, which many of you would know, as India's largest e-commerce company. And it was a very different experience from being in McKinsey and Fidelity, which was really at the cutting edge of chaos, which was, really creating something and kind of moving at extraordinary speed and with very different, set of methods and practices than what I had learned for the first 20 years of my career or 25 years of my career. Yeah. And that kind of all kind of then culminates in Incedo, where, we are working with some of the largest enterprises in the world on core issues. So, what I'm trying to share with you is that there's really quite a incredible, I'm very fortunate that, when I kind of, as I grew up as a professional, the whole digital age was taking off. And, I had the opportunity to really be a very, very integral part from it and observe it and to learn from it. And it is really those learnings, which I have tried to kind of bring together in this book. Yeah. And the key kind of really point, as I mentioned earlier, is that this, digital is very complex and it's very, very multidimensional. Yeah. So in this book, constantly what I'm trying to do, and which is also generally a learning, right? That when you have a complex problem, how do you handle it? You break it down. Yeah. You break it down. If you have to solve a complex problem, you first have to make it simple. Yeah. If you keep on going more and more in complexity, you can never solve things. So, if to any problem in the world, whatever it is, however complex it is, can be solved. But you have to simplify it. You have to break it down. Yeah. So that's what I've tried to do in this book, that I've broken it up into these 7 building blocks. Yeah. So the first is at a very uber level, a kind of view that some of the underlying rules of business need to change. Yeah, how we look at business, some of the key kind of theories or principles of business we need to change. Yeah, that's at a very uber level. Then it gets to a industry level, that there are a set of shifts which are happening across the industries, and you need to study that. So what digital means for banking versus telecom versus e-commerce, there are some patterns. Yeah, there are some patterns which are common, but there are different stages of a maturity curve, and you need to understand that. Yeah. So for each industry, you need to understand, what digital means. Yeah, and understand the notion of where they are on that maturity curve. Number 3 is about the technologies. While I did, and I keep on saying it, that digital is a lot more than just technology, but undeniably, technology is a very, very key part of this whole thing called digital. Yeah. And so to understand that, what do, AI, cloud, blockchain, data, all of these things, how are they kind of interplaying with each other? Yeah. The fourth thing that I've tried to break out is that, how do you operate? So the first kind of 1, 2, 3 are largely about the why and the what of digital. Yeah. And 4, 5, 6, 7 are more about the how. Yeah. So, so one of my key, again, postulates is that digital by its inherent nature is global, is global. And you have to think of it as global demand, global supply. And in particular, I focused in the book on global delivery, yeah, which is very relevant for what we do. That's what, as Incedo, we do, and how one should think about global delivery as an advantage or as a way of achieving digital. Yeah. Going on with the theme of the how is then about the organization. That as an organization, if you do everything above 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, and if you don't change your organization, you will fail. You will not succeed in digital. Yeah. So organization transformation is this very, very, very critical and essential step, without which you cannot succeed in digital. Yeah. And today, my view is that from a technology, where technology is, we are realizing not more than 5 to 10% of the potential of all the new technologies, largely because of constructs, the old constructs, we have around our organizations. Yeah. So the kind of bottleneck is not technology by any stretch of imagination. Yeah. Technology already has advanced so much, and we are only leveraging a small part of it. Most companies in the world are leveraging a very small part of it. This number 5 is the real bottleneck. Yeah. Now, so far, in kind of these building blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have talked really from a perspective of the organization or the enterprise. Yeah. Somebody who's thinking about driving digital transformation from an enterprise perspective. In chapter 6 and 7, or section 6 and 7, I change kind of tracks and kind of start taking more of an individual's perspective. Yeah. Because this whole thing about digital is not just about companies kind of going through digital transformation. It is it is equally and more about all of us, isn't it? Whatever stage of our career we might be, yeah, that this is a fundamentally different world. This is a fundamentally different world for multiple reasons, which I will get into more detail of. Yeah, and and so chapter 6 then talks more from the perspective of leaders, that as leaders, what are some of the key things you need to think about? What is it that you need to do differently? And then chapter 7 is more from a perspective of young professionals, that if I'm starting out in my career, what are some capabilities that I need to build? Yeah. So this is kind of like a, these are the 7 building blocks. Whatever I know of digital, this is how I've tried to break into. And then over the next 7, 8 sessions that we have, we will go into each of these building blocks one by one. Today, we will cover the first one about new rules of business. Before I dive into it, let me pause here and invite if there are any questions or comments at this stage.